It's 9:02.
Yeah, I just called them to do an intake, so I'm gonna go back in. Yeah, just play that call. All right, yeah, I'll definitely.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll do better next time. Maybe.
I'm an old lady.
Maybe.
Here they are.
You're younger than me.
No, how old are you?
75. Close enough.
I'm a very young sipper.
I'm a young 75. That's what I tell myself.
9:03.
Sorry, we're talking about how young we are.
Yes.
And it takes precedence.
Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. 12:14.
Okay. We're going to call to order the meeting of the Board of Commissioners for Thursday, December 14th, 2023, and it is 9:04. Please join me. Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment.
Yes, Fred Kane from Wolfboro.
Good morning, Fred.
Good morning, all. I was going over some of the paperwork that we saw posted, and as you know, I've been concerned about the agency staff, and Bonnie, the CFO, has in her budget narrative that the nursing home budget for the agency staff was at $1,292,000 at the end of October. They're averaging about $129,000 per month. Based on the spending track, she expects agency to be at $1,550,293 by the end of the year. 63.8% of the vacancy cost. I still believe we need to address that matter. I also have not received the study, the wage study for the thing, but I did have the Carroll County MVC employee file where I do see you're giving them a raise on there, and I do see 3 positions in there that are being removed: physical therapy aide, hairdresser, and the assistant director of nursing, which I was surprised because I thought over a year ago that position was removed. Then I read the report from Human Research, Linda Manchin, the director, and she said, one of her comments, in early winter, an audit of the position descriptions was started to ensure all jobs within the Carroll County have an up-to-date description. So I'm assuming that's probably why the ADON position, assistant ADON position, is now changed to director of quality. So that to bring up to date. I would like to mention that the former ADON received a phone call the other night from a daughter of a resident whose mother was taken out of Mountain View and gone to Huggins and wasn't doing well. She went to Huggins, saw her, spoke to the daughter, the mother. The daughter said, my mother's been getting calls from other residents in there, worried about, her, and she is unable to take a phone call. So with that, the former ADON contacted a couple of those residents and told her that she wasn't doing well, and that she just wanted them to be aware that she couldn't take the call, but she was in a good place, they were taking good care of her, and that she would talk to them if she could. Well then, 2 nights later, she received a call from that same daughter of the resident within minutes of the mother passing away. The former ADON was heartbroken, but the point of this whole story was that this person reached out to somebody that she had entrusted, that she knew from there before. That same former ADON went into the nursing home the next day to speak with some of those residents to help comfort them now that they've lost one of their residents that they were so close to. She didn't have to do that, but that was the caring person that this county had got rid of. And she also brought in a dozen donuts for a 90-year-old gentleman whose birthday as a gift for them and the residents. This is the type of person that this county, did away with that position. Somebody caring out on their own, took time to comfort the residents for this building. And as I've said before, and I'll say again, shame on this county for allowing that to happen. Shame on HR for allowing it to happen. I expect more from our county. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Seeing none? Any media questions?
No one else?
No one? Okay. And we will go to the approval of minutes of November 30th.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 30th as written.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Melissa, do you have a signature?
I thought I had one, but no, I'll have to print one. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. So the manifest approval for accounts payable for December 13th was $827,189.57. And payroll for December 15th was $261,092.52.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We will go into recess for Hale's Location Board of Selectmen's meeting. It is
9:10.
9:10. Joe? you have
Yes, for
anything
Hales,
us?
I have a couple of items here. I have the tax collector's warrant and a few checks. And while you're perusing those, I'll hand out the financials to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And a minute to look at their financials.
Seems like we are on track.
On track. Oh, goodness. Okay.
Very good. Motor vehicle, please.
Okay. Oh, guess what? I got my glasses today. I think. Okay. Any questions on the financials? I looked at these already, so.
Just give me a minute.
Okay. We have two checks here today. One is a reimbursement for phone for the tax collector in the amount of $86, check number 2707.
Do you need a motion to approve?
Yes.
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. And to allow the treasurer
To sign.
to sign. And we have a second check for Whitney Consulting Group LLC for $1,000. They are the people that come up and do the taxes for
Right.
Denise.
Yep.
Motion to approve and have the treasurer sign.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, wait a second. Wait a minute. We have to
Yeah, you have to.
initial. Good. So fine. And I guess, do we other two have to initial this one too? The reimbursement? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so, as
Okay.
long as you've approved it.
Okay. So if you would just initial this one.
We need a signature for each one, that one.
Yep.
Thank you.
And this is the tax warrant for Hales. I'll just read this top page, so for the general public, this is a tax warrant for Hales location. It's in the name of the state, you are hereby directed to collect the property taxes in the list herein, committed to you amounting to the sum of $173,550, and with interest at 8% per annum for December 1st, 2023, therefore on all sums not paid on or before that day. And we further order you to remit all monies collected to the town treasurer or to the town treasurer's designee as provided by RSA 41:29, at least on a weekly basis or daily whenever the tax receipts total $1,500 or more. So we just need you to authorize to sign that.
Right.
And Commissioner Nelson, you need your John Hancock on there. Give that back to Joe. And then we also need to approve the minutes for December 7th.
Motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Here's a basket of favorite things and
Oh,
if you
good.
sign them. Okay.
Keeping us in order.
Yep.
Oh, man.
You would like to sign that? And your signature. This goes to you, Melissa, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you make sure you emailed it also to Denise, right?
Yep, we scan a copy for here and then we send it to Denise.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Anything else for Hales, gentlemen? Joe?
I have nothing else for Hales, Madam Chair.
Then we will go back into our regular scheduled
9:16.
Commissioners meeting, and it is 9:16. Okay. Let's see what's next.
I have those minutes for you to sign if you want.
Oh, good. Okay.
So December 7th, and then there are some other sets that we need that don't have signature on them in the office, that I'll know where they went, but they're all approved. And then I can have that for you also.
Okay.
together? Order-
Okay. Do we have your source here yet? No.
No, Attorney Blair is here.
Okay.
If you wanted to take them first.
Sure. Be happy to. Good morning, Keith. How are you?
Good, how's everybody doing this morning?
Good. How are you doing in your new position?
I like to say drinking from a fire hose, so. There you go.
Okay.
So it has come to my attention that in the county attorney's budget, there's a separate line for county attorney vehicle allowance. It's a $400 a month allowance for the county attorney to cover costs of fuel, potential like repairs to the car based on the amount of travel that we'll do. I've already seen a significant uptick in my travel since becoming county attorney, and
Of
do
course.
foresee over the next year that continuing based on the repeal of phones first. I have a feeling there's going to be a significant amount of meetings that I have to attend, more trips down to Concord, individual meetings with police chiefs, and so I would like to use that budget line. I haven't been using it yet, and just thought that it would be best practice to seek the permission from the commission before I started using it.
I see no reason why you shouldn't. It's in your budget, and it was for the former county attorney, which you are now replaced.
Yes.
So I
Question?
guess it would be, any questions?
No.
This is per month, no matter
Yes.
how many times you went, or is it based, what's that based?
It is a monthly, the way that it is broken down, at least through the budget, it's a $400 a month payment,
Whether you go 20 times or one time?
20 times or one time, yeah.
Question?
And that's above and beyond the mileage?
No, he doesn't get mileage.
He doesn't get
It
mileage?
does, I don't get mileage.
Okay, so this is,
Yeah,
This is,
just to make it clear for everybody,
Yep.
this is all you get?
yes.
yeah,
Okay.
which we,
Do we
should
need
we
a
do?
motion?
I would, just to make it,
I'll make a motion, we approve the $400 a month.
Another question?
yes.
Be probably too late.
No, it's
No.
never too late. Never too late for a question.
Roughly, and I know it varies by month and you're doing all that stuff, but how much do you anticipate going, is this for other clients or just us here alone? Other business, I guess,
No, just for county business.
just for this
Yep.
county? Okay. I'll second that motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Good, so that was painless.
Very painless.
How are you doing on hiring a deputy? Do you have anyone?
We have had 2 applicants, one of which I've conducted an interview for, so.
Okay, good. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Have a nice Christmas.
Thank you, you as well.
Any line item transfers?
No, not today.
Okay. Commissioners' comments and reports. We'll go to that. Commissioner McGee, would you like to say anything about the retirement party that we attended yesterday?
Well, we had 3 long-term employees who retired after, I forget how many years of service, 30 plus in most cases. It was a nice little event, and we wish them well, and we appreciate all the things they did for the residents of Mountain View, and it was a nice event. And it was good to see everybody.
I was unable to attend because of a doctor's
Yeah,
appointment.
yep,
so-
I was there. I got in there late because as soon as I got to county, I was grabbed about some other stuff. But it was a nice event, and I think they were very appreciative of having that, and they had some beautiful,
Right.
yeah,
Blacks. or-
glass
Yeah,
things. It was really nice.
thanks.
Okay. Let me see. So this is, do we have to just sign this? Because we already approved it, right?
You've already approved it.
So it's just for our signatures?
Which one is that? The water stuff?
Pardon?
Who's that, the water stuff? Which one?
No, this is the nursing home.
Oh, yeah, okay, right.
Point of inquiry,
Yes?
what is that again?
This is the agreement between the Carroll County Commissioners for the Mountain View Community and the American Federation State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 3685, Council 93, ASCME,
Thank you.
AFL-CIO, which we approved, and it's just here for signature. And that will go to the delegation today for their approval, right?
They're not going to approve it today because it contains budgetary items, and they're not allowed to start
Yeah.
voting on the budget until December 29th. So they'll ratify it perhaps at their next meeting.
Okay, so Underwood is not here until 10. We have no line item transfers, I already asked, right? Okay. We do.
We do.
Let's just look into this. And that's all for that. Actually, we could go into the non-public. Rich isn't here yet, but he's supposed to be.
He's here. He's back
Oh, there
there.
he is.
We have to go out of,
He's in the back.
we have to go out of the
Yeah.
meeting for,
Yeah, for non-public, here we go. It's A.
no, I'm thinking of North Hales location. We need to recess that area.
No, we already
Finish.
did.
Very good now.
I already did.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we go into non-public under New Hampshire RSA 91-A:3, to A.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner McGee,
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson, aye. Mr. Commissioner McCarthy.
Aye.
9:26.
Should we announce this one too now, or wait till we come back?
Wait, because I think we have,
10 o'clock?
yeah, we have youth source first.
Right, okay.
And him after.
For signature, please.
Oh,
Need a field signature.
okay.
9:44.
Okay,
Motion to come out of non-public and seal the minutes.
I'll second that.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We're back in our regular meeting, and we're have about a half hour before our next water systems improvement study comes in, and that's all we have left to do. So the commissioners got to sign checks. I'm running over to the admin building to check on this check, because I don't know who it's to or why it's
Did
to.
you mention that nice situation with the telephone call?
Yes, I will. So I shall be back.
We shall return, in
not,
the words
just
of
start
Douglas
without
MacArthur.
Madam Chair, are you going to recess or are we staying?
Yeah, I'll recess. I guess we should recess. I didn't know if they wanted to talk, ask questions, but we can recess. It is,
9:45.
thank you.
45.
Any second?
No, don't be sorry. What do we do?
It's just the agenda that Underwood brought?
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Any reason for two staples? Maybe they did two things.
Different departments.
Terry, can you see that from where you are?
No, I think I'm gonna move down next to, well, yeah, 'cause I
Yeah, I
can't
may
even
have
see
to do
it.
that too.
Yeah. Or somewhere.
So I can move on to here, all three commissions completed.
Thank you. Well, bring your,
So I have one of these for you too.
oh, thank you.
Oh, no, Will, you can sit there. I can sit right here. I can see it fine right here. I'll just put a chair up here. Yeah.
You can sit back here with the Conan
Are you
folks if
kidding?
want.
Sit next to you?
The Conan folks.
Oh.
Yours are
There
Then,
I don't know, I'm just gonna get my chair, 'cause I wanna write too.
okay?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Take the comfortable one, Terry.
No, just a couple of questions for the most part, so we've been lucky so far.
Oh, okay. Well, Bill felt all this morning, I might as well do it too, so he doesn't feel so
Yeah,
bad.
it doesn't hurt my feelings. I hear that the second half of the winter is
Oh,
gonna
it's
be
fine, yeah.
the worst
I
part.
hate having people.
What the projections are.
So what is this for you?
You never know, we'll see.
Yep.
Now, what's our next meeting? What time?
9, I think. What, our next meeting is next week?
No, today, this afternoon.
Oh, no,
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
We're all done after this. We got a quick, we got a.
Okay.
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 All right, so we haven't been to talk with you guys in probably close to a year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good time for an update. Not quite finished with everything that we've started, of course, but
Okay.
thought I'd give you an update. So, some of the work we've been doing was the well inspections up there. This is all in the water system, right? The water system improvements. Well inspections, looking at the source capacity, meter building and the tank upgrades. We've got the county building meters, residential meters, hydrants, and the Route 28 water main replacement are all the different pieces that we've been looking at. So the first thing that we took care of was the well inspection work. That was to kind of find out what's there for the wells, assess the condition, and see if it needed, there were any upgrades or replacements, repairs needed. So we put out an RFP for that work. That went out in May to 5 contractors. 3 declined to bid because they were too busy. We actually received 1 bid, which was Barry Miller's Well and Pump Company. We signed a contract with them you guys signed a contract with them in July. And they finished the work in August. Well, they did the work in September, finished the middle of September. So the beginning of August, they went out, actually, ironically, the week before they were scheduled to come, we started having some problems with the dug well, so we ended up pulling them out a week early to do some troubleshooting and get that back online. Then they did the inspection of Bedrock Well 1, did some repairs that were needed to that well. They moved on to the dug well, did the same there. Then moved on to Bedrock Well 2 and did some repairs there, and they left the site at the end of September. So some of the work they did, Bedrock 1 needed a new well pump and motor, and they replaced the check valves. The drop pipe in that well was pretty good condition, a little bit of surface rust, but nothing major. And then there was also a leak at the discharge where the pipe comes out of the well. So they ended up excavating and fixing that, so that was taken
Could I
care of.
interrupt you just for a second? You have 2 new commissioners
Mhm.
here who know nothing about this.
Okay.
Because we
Oh,
started
wow.
it
Yeah,
before
yeah.
they were on
Yeah.
board. So if you could just tell them how this
No,
came
we're
about.
missing one. Oh, no, we're not. Okay. He's back there.
How this came about so they understand what we're doing.
Oh, all right, kind of the history of it. Okay.
Yes, don't mind.
So there were significant upgrades done to the water system back in 2000. I'm trying to think. They put in Bedrock Well 2 was added then. It was all connected. There's new piping at that time from Bedrock 1, Bedrock 2, and the dug well all down to the meter house, which was built at that time, right?
I think so.
I think that was built new then, yeah. So that was 2000. Connected into your storage tank that's up there, that was already existing. And then new piping from the storage tank down through the campus, down into town, with the exception of one line, the line going out on Old 28. So most of your piping and everything is, 2000 era. Not in bad shape, but kind of the meter building, some of the stuff on the storage tank is older. we did a capacity analysis to see if you had enough capacity with the wells that you had versus your uses. It looked like it was okay, but there was a lot of unknowns with the well. There was no, the wells are, with the exception of well 2 is permitted, but the other 2 wells are older. There's not really a permitted production volume on them, so we don't really know how much they could pump. Had no information on the pumps that were there. There were no level transducers in the wells, so we have no idea what the well levels are doing, or how they're reacting to how it is being pumped. There's just a lot of unknowns there. So we said, and our initial evaluation report was, well, we think you have enough source capacity with what you have if everything's working okay. But then Will's having trouble with some of the wells. Occasionally with the Doug well, he was having some trouble with Bedrock well 1 not pumping and things like that. And so we don't know, is it a problem with the well? Is it just a mechanical problem? That sort of thing. So that's kind of what led to a lot of this source work. And then the other pieces that I mentioned back on the earlier slide. Putting in meters and things like that. Those are kind of other projects that Will had in the works, and he's really doing most of that anyways.
So if I could just add to update you guys, but basically we had a bunch of unknown questions of a 20-year-old department or system, and we had them come in, do a study. They identified and met a bunch of the things that were wrong, and then when the ARPA money came in, we started tackling the priorities of those deficiencies that they had identified that were either wearing out due to age or were incomplete information that we didn't know. It was getting to the point when people were trying to come on the system and asking the commissioners, can I come on the system? Commissioners would look to me and I said, I'm not really sure what what our available water is.
Capacity.
Right, and so that's what led to a lot of this, all of what Underwood's been helping us do over the last, going on a couple of years now probably. Because we started with that and then they came in when we got the ARPA money and started taking one task at a time from the higher priority, which.
And so this, I guess Terry is the only one that will recognize this. This was our original kind of, we called it the roadmap. As we had all these different projects, little pieces and parts that either Will knew needed to be done, or we needed to look at, and then depending on what we found, we might need to do different work. We kind of developed this roadmap with priorities of, what was first priority, what was second priority, what was third priority, and this is kind of how we were tracking it with the estimated costs and that sort of thing. So this is just an update of kind of an old roadmap, but we'll go through that
So
later.
have we determined what the capacity is?
Not quite yet. I'll get to that. We're almost there. This
All right.
meeting's like a little premature. I was debating, do we do it? It's end of the year. It's kind of a good time to do things, or do we wait until we know the answers on the well? And then Melissa said, "Should we do an update?" I said, "Yeah, let's just go ahead and do it." So we're close, but not quite there. All right, so back to the wells. So again, you have 3 wells. You have 2 bedrock wells and a system of dug wells. There's actually 2 upper dug wells that feed a lower dug well, and I'm assuming that was probably the original system, maybe? That would be my guess, and then the bedrock well 1 was added at some point, and then bedrock 2 was added in 2000. I just thought I'd show you some pictures of what went on up there. So they came in, they pulled the pump out of the well, so that's the rig at well 1 that they used to pull the pump, and that's some of the drop pipe that's there. You can see it's perfectly clean above the water level. There's some rust on it below the water level just from iron, in the water. And this is one of the repairs they did, so I guess I don't have a cursor there. The picture on the left is actually a video. I don't know if I can make it go. Where the pipe, that's a PVC pipe connecting to the well. That's the well casing on the right. And as you can see when he turns the camera, how bent it is there. So what we suspect happened is, you've got a rigid pipe attached to the to the well casing there. And then there actually is an old foundation from the old well building too, so you've got some rigid points there. If you get some settlement, in that pipe, there's no flex. So it was actually cracked and it was broken and it was leaking there on the top. So they replaced that connection, and on the right is what they put in. They put in a little piece of HDPE, high density polyethylene pipe, which is flexible. So now you've got a flexible connection coming off of that well. So that leak was repaired. Whoops. And then at Bedrock 2, similar thing. They went down, pulled the well pump, and inspected it. We replaced the well pump, the motor, 2 check valves, and then they also replaced the motor cable and the wiring down to the well, because we found that it was undersized. For what is needed with losses. These are deep wells. They're like 1,000 feet deep. And the pumps are down, 600-ish feet or so. So it's a long run of wire, and it was actually undersized. So that was replaced in that well. And so that photo on the left, that's going out to well 2, and the rig was there. And on the right, that's the pump, as they had it ready to go back in the well. And then at the dug well, they repaired the discharge pipe. The dug well is like a 4-foot diameter manhole, basically, deep manhole, with a submersible pump in it. And where the discharge line left the well casing, where it went through, it was severely corroded and broken, and so it was actually kind of circularly pumping. It was, a lot of the discharge flow was going right back into the well, and not even out the discharge pipe, which is why we was having trouble getting water up to the pump house. So they excavated that, put a new pipe through the discharge side. So that's the dug well. It sits down kind of in a hollow. And that was when they were dewatering the well. As you can see, it's like a manhole structure with, probably gravel in the bottom. That were collector. The upper ones have collector pipes that come into them. So you got the pipe at the bottom, which is the upper 2 wells. There's dug well 2 and 3 flow into 1, and then the pump is in 1 and it pumps out to the system. And that was where the break is. You can see the water shooting out to the left there. That was where the pipe went through. So there were a bunch of, fittings. I'm jumping ahead, sorry. There were a bunch of fittings between the pump, the drop pipe and the pump discharge going through the wall of the well. That was all corroded and it was leaking there. So that was replaced. Just some photos for you guys. This is dug well 2. There's another dug well 3 that looks like this up above. So in doing this, we also did some more evaluations of these wells that, at the time we did the original evaluation, we hadn't really even been up there. But, we're making some recommendations, like really we should replace the covers on these and get some better hatches in for access, that are lockable and that sort of thing. On these upper wells. And then the photo on the left is the opening into dug well 2 there. You can see there's a T-wrench that operates a valve that's at the bottom of the well, which is broken. You can see on the right. so you can't turn the valve that's down there. But then the opening into the well too is narrow. I mean, it's probably like 12, 14 inches. I don't know. It's really narrow. So it would be advantageous to get some kind of hatch on there that you can actually open up and get into there and do work if you need to. So we're recommending some additional work on those wells. And then the access up there, this was after the main access road had a little damage in the spring due to some of those big rainstorms, and Will's already had this section fixed. And then you turn the corner and you kind of go up through a path. So obviously, just for better access up there, we'd like to get that all, graded out, some new gravel put on the road. It's all got a good foundation, it's all good and solid roads up there, but, same thing here. This is past the pump house heading out to the dug well and well 2, so they're not in bad shape, they're just kind of overgrown. They've been there for 20 years without having any additional gravel put on them, so I think it's worth putting, throwing another 6 inches of gravel on, get them all graded out and getting the access up there a little bit better, so, Will has better access to maintain stuff up there. I mean, right now it's kind of difficult to get some of it. There is a muddy section on the road, but again, I mean, it's a pretty good base underneath it, so I think with some minor improvements, we can do that. And that's going out to well 2. It's just completely overgrown, but again, it's got a good base under it, so if we just put a little bit of new gravel on it, I think it'll be good. The second contract that we put out for RFP was for piping and meters in the well building. Initially, we planned to roll this into the whole, larger project for the improvements of the well building, the pump house building, meter building, whatever we want to call it. But as we got into it, we had the hydrogeologist wanted to do the pump tests on the well to, try and get a better idea of their capacity. And they need to meter the flow to do that, and they need accurate meters. The meters that were in there were 20 years old. They needed replacing anyways. And when we started talking through how to do that, they could put their own meter on it and pump to waste, but then why waste all that water, right? So we decided to go ahead and get the piping and the meters replaced in the building. That way, when the hydrogeologists were doing the pump test, they could just pump through the well building into the tank. We could still use the water. They had accurate meters to,
So they're trying to gauge the recovery? They're trying?
Right, yeah. So they put well level indicators and data loggers in the wells like mid-August. About the time they started pulling the wells out, the hydrogeologist went up there and put level monitoring in there. So they basically monitored it from mid-August to the end of November. So they've got a lot of data kind of on normal use of what it's doing, as well as when they were doing continuous pumping. So that's where they're in the process of analyzing that data to come back and say, this is what the real yield of the well is, so that we can nail that down. So we put out contract 2 in June to 5 contractors. We got 1 bid again. Executed the contract mid-July, and they finished the work the end of September. And so they replaced the 3 meters for the well and the distribution meter that was up there, new copper piping and valves, and we also had them add some flushing connections onto the piping so that you could flush the wells without going to the storage tank, because the way it was originally set up, if you ran the pump, if you ran the wells, it went into the storage tank. There was nowhere to tap off of it. So like when they would pull the pumps or something or do anything to, if you did any work on the wells to stir things up in there was no way to flush it out, really, unless you had one of those trucks there and, they could pump to waste right at the well. So we added some connections so that you can, at the pump house, you can take it off and put it with a hose outside so you can flush the waste if you need to clean out the line, or if you're going to disinfect it or whatever. It'll help a lot for the future. So we added that. So on the left was the old piping and meters, and on the right's the new thing. We pretty much replaced it with what was there. You can see the flushing connections on the bottom there that we put in on the right-hand side. So the old meters, the 3 from the wells were just manual read, so Will reads them and writes them down. The distribution meter, you can't see it in the picture on the right, but it's behind the garbage can in the picture on the left. That was actually connected to SCADA, so he could read, how much was going to the storage tank. But that was malfunctioning, it wasn't reading, so the new meters, all 4 of the meters now have capability to put out a signal to the SCADA system. So then when we do the SCADA system upgrade, we'll be able to get those signals down here, so he can have access to them and, know better what's going on up there without having to go all the way up there on a snowmobile or whatever in the winter when it's hard to get up there. So after all the repairs were done, the piping and the meters were done in the building, then the hydrogeologist came back and did pump tests on the wells. They did the Doug well, the beginning of November, followed by Bedrock 1, followed by Bedrock 2. What they tried to do was rest the well for as long as, rest all the wells. They tried to get all the wells turned off, ended up at least 2 days, tried for 3 to 5 days if they could go that long. We were monitoring the tank level at the time, to make sure that you weren't getting down to too low of a tank level. And then what they wanted to do was pump the wells 24/7 for 2 days, see what the water level does in the well, and then turn it off again for another couple of days to monitor the recovery. So these are just some of the graphs of this is what they're analyzing. This is the Doug well. You can see on the left on the green, that was before the pump test. So they were actually using the well, to fill the storage tank. Turned it off for a few days, let it recovered up to a level 2 feet below the top of the well. Then they pumped it for the 2 days. That's the blue. You can see the level draw down because there was about a 4-foot drawdown in the well, which isn't bad at all for that well. I mean, you saw how deep it was in that picture. And then turn it back off and let it recover back to, and look at the recovery rate of how long it takes to recover back to the normal level where it started. So this is the information that the hydrogeologists are analyzing to come up with what they think that those wells can actually pump. This is all preliminary. They're not done with their report yet, but I thought I'd just show you what kind of data we were collecting. This is the same information, but from Bedrock 1 when that one was pump tested. Again, on the left, on the green, that was before the pump test. You can see where it was dropping initially. That's when we were just running normally to fill the system. One of the other wells was running. That one was running. One thing they did find is that Bedrock 1 and 2 are hydraulically connected. So when you pump one, the level goes down in the other one to some extent. They'll be looking at how much, if they're directly connected or how much it's influencing it. Again, turn the wells off, let everything rest for a couple days before they started the pump test. The blue is the pump test. Bedrock well, I don't know if you can see it on the graph, but the starting point was 260 feet below the top of casing is where the water level was when they started it, and after 2 days of pumping it was down to 420 feet below top of casing. So there's 160 feet of drawdown in that well during the test. Again, they're like 1,000 feet deep, so it's within the operating range. And then they monitor the recovery again in the purple, and then basically the same thing for the Rock well too. That one had a starting elevation of 200 feet below top of casing and about 130 feet of drawdown down into like 330 feet below top of casing, and then recovered. So, just another thing I wanted to show you guys to give you your bearings. This is just a little rough hydraulic profile we did to kind of get a picture of what we're dealing with. So Bedrock 1 is up at the top. You can see how high that is compared to the pump house, which is on the left-hand side. So we're actually pumping downhill into the pump house on all three of them. The top of the well on Bedrock 1 is about elevation 1051, and it's 1,000 feet deep. So even the water level, the normal water level that we observed back in August was 670 feet elevation. We're talking elevation. The bottom of this graph goes to 950. So your water level's way below this graph, right, when we start. So you're pumping up to where that line comes out of the well, and then it's going downhill to the well, into the pump house. And one thing we observed when just in operation of this is that Bedrock, at least Bedrock 1 and the dug well both siphon, so when the pump's turned off, the water is still siphoning, because you're going from here, right? You're going up the top of the well, you get that siphon started and it keeps going. The one from Bedrock Well 1 went quite a while. I mean, it was a good 20 minutes. I sat there and watched it before it finally, started slowing down and stopped. So that's one thing we probably want to address in the, the next phase of the improvements. And we're still talking about how to do that, whether we put an air vacuum valve up near the well to break the vacuum and stop the siphon, or we might be able to do it with like an electronic solenoid valve or something in the pump house to force it to stop, so that when you stop pumping, you actually stop flowing. And then on the right is Bedrock 2, that's closer to the elevation. The dug well's in the middle. Both of those, though, as you can see as you go to the left there, kind of toward the pump house, they kind of go up a hill and come back down. So we weren't running Bedrock 2 when we were there, when we happened to be there that day, so I don't know if that one siphons as well, but the other two, we saw them doing it, so something else to address. And just some things that we kind of confirmed, the left-hand column's the report, the right-hand column's kind of what we observed or what we were doing with the testing. In the report, we kind of estimated the daily use at about 19,000 gallons, and as we were monitoring, during the pump test, we were monitoring the tank levels, so we knew how much was getting put into the tank, how much the wells were pumping. We could kind of estimate the use. It's kind of rough because, everything wasn't being monitored exactly the same time of the day necessarily, but, we were looking, we were seeing roughly, 15 to 22,000 gallons per day, which is, pretty much spot on to what we have in the report, and Will always says 20,000 gallons a day, right? So,
Just almost.
yeah, so, I think, we've confirmed that that's a good number for what you guys are using. And the rest of this is what the EGGI is still working on. They pumped, so in the report, when we did the source capacity analysis, we had, based on past data, we had assumed that the Bedrock 1 was about 15 gallons a minute, Bedrock 2, 25, and the dug well at 15, just from, past documentation and some old reports and what we could dig up. The pumps in 1 and 2 are much larger. They're, at least 30 gallon a minute pumps. So based on, kind of the operation that we saw while they were doing the repairs on the well and that kind of pumping, kind of gave the hydrogeologists an idea of what flow rates they wanted to try and pump the wells at, to develop those graphs. So they pumped, Bedrock well was pumped at 26, Bedrock 2 was pumped at 30, and the dug well was pretty much maxed out at 11.6. And the dug well, sustained pretty well, but that's the max they can get out of the pump. They were able to get out of the pump was 11.6. So they did note that when I just talked to them, verbally when they gave me those graphs, they did note that at those flow rates for 1 and 2, that the water levels in the well were quite depressed. And I don't know if you noticed it on some of them, but usually we look for the water levels to kind of level out. If you pump it long term, that it levels out at some point, and most of those were still kind of decreasing when they finished the pump test. So, that says that maybe we were pumping a little bit too much. So I don't know what they're going to come back with, but, they're suspecting that maybe the fracture system that's feeding the wells isn't quite capable of doing as much as like the pumps are, so they may come back with a little bit lower numbers. So the source capacity requirement that we had when we did the evaluation was 76,000 gallons per day. Future, we assumed adding 50 beds to the nursing home sometime in the future. That would put you at 101. So it basically, the flows that we were talking about on the last slide, you're looking at 88,000. So, good for current. Because of the amount of storage you have, I think you're probably going to be okay. Future as well, with that kind of future, not huge growth future. We've talked about some other things. You don't have enough for that, but for your current system, I don't know, I'm kind of just talking from the gut right here, but I think they're gonna come back and say we're okay with what we've got. And I'm hoping, and we don't need a new well. That's just my gut. I'm not a hydrogeologist, but just based on the amount of storage you have, it gives you a lot of flexibility to, maybe be a little bit undersized. And that's all I have. All right, back on the agenda. I think I covered everything for page 1. So that's what's been going on up at the well building. We're still working, item 2, we're still working on the meter and chlorination building and tank upgrades. We're partially through that. We've got plans roughed out. Probably 60% maybe?
Oh, at least.
Yeah, we still need to do the specs. But we'll be finishing that stuff up in the next couple of months, and that's going to include SCADA upgrade for the controlled system, repairs to the building, some of the stuff I talked about with, road upgrades, repairs to the storage tank, structural repairs. Probably we're going to recommend some upgrades to those, the dug wells up there, that sort of thing. So that's in progress. We're probably looking, I'm thinking we're going to, this spring we'll be going out, the RFP for that work. And number 3, we had hydrant replacements. Will's got I don't know if you want to give an update. You've purchased the hydrants and we really haven't done.
Correct. We've purchased them and we're still,
He's working on getting them installed.
correct, waiting on the contractor.
And then number 4 is the county building meters. Will has the meters. We have drafted a request for proposal to get those installed. We need to finalize that soon, within the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping. Get that to you so that we can get that out probably January-ish. And see if we can get a contractor for installing those. 5 is the residential meters. Again, Will's got the meters, and I think you're planning to.
We don't physically have the meters yet.
Oh, you don't?
But I am meeting with EJPs Monday to work on some training with it. Basically, the holdup, they have the meters. The holdup is because they're going to be radio read. We have to have I had to fill some paperwork out with the FCC, and so the company is waiting on the approval and whatever they have to do back there for the FCC approval before we can physically get the meters and start installing them.
And then this is also going to tie into number 7, which we haven't gotten to yet, but with your asset management, we were planning to kind of tie in the records for the new meters. So once you get the new GIS software and that's all set up, Margaret will set you up with some online, like electronic forms in the tablets, so that when you install the meters, you can enter the information into there, right there, and it'll be logged into the asset manager. So you'll have records
Right.
of what's there, what went in, what's there, that kind of thing. So that'll loop into the asset management, which is down a couple. The fire pond we haven't done anything with. That probably needs a new withdrawal pipe section, maybe cleaning out, that kind of thing. 7 is the asset management plan. That's almost a separate project that's funded by a DES grant. We've got most of the field data collected and mapped. I know Margaret met with Will, Bobby, and Lisa at the end of November to get the purchase of the hardware and the software taken care of. So they're looking at a workstation and a tablet or 2 and the software licenses for the GIS system. Once you get that, once they'll get you set up so that you can access all of what's in there, and then, like I said, we'd like to tie the meter data into there for storing that. So that is basically for the status of everything. Number 8 is, I wanted to mention, we're going to be sending Will a contract amendment, probably later this week, tomorrow, or beginning of next week. I didn't quite get it done. One, to increase task 7, because the funds in there that were for the meter design we used for the construction side of the well improvements. So we need a little, and we'd like to add bidding to that, so that we have bidding under contract, so as soon as we finish it, we can roll right into getting it bid. And then we're requesting to add some new tasks. Final design on the old Route 28 water main. We've done preliminary design, so we've got about a 30% design, but to finish that design so that it's ready to bid. And then construction administration and some record drawings for the meter chlorination building. And that would allow us to kind of keep going on that, right? We're almost there, probably in the next couple months we'll wrap that up. We'll have an RFP ready to go out to bid for that work. We have these tasks, we can go ahead and bid it, we can go ahead and just roll right into the construction of that and get that done. So one thing in the future is the construction of the old Route 28 water main's been kind of up in the air. I guess that's been the lowest priority. So our thought was to, get it designed, get it ready to go. By that time, we'll know how much all this other stuff is costing. The higher priority things are costing. You can look at what you have left for money and decide if we're going to go on that. Because with the ARPA money, we probably want to be bidding that like September to get it locked in before your December 24th date.
And
Or December 24th.
along with that job, if we figure out that we don't need a new well and we have the money left over in the ARPA to go with it, not only have the ARPA timeframe, but we also met with the OSSP DPW director, and they're going to be looking at redoing that road down there, and so it'd be a good time to coordinate with them and do it at the same time. They could let us come in and do the
Yeah,
do a lot of that.
so we met with the state, because that intersection there, I don't know, Courthouse Square, is that the name of that?
Yes.
Is there a name for that intersection? That's DOT, so we have to deal with DOT to get across that, and then Old 28 is a town road, so then we deal with the town after that. But yeah, when we met with them, they said they had plans to mill and repave that road, so if we could do it, if we could work with them and kind of do it in conjunction with them, that would benefit both parties, because it might save us some trench patch, and we're noticing there's some culverts that we have to cross and stuff, so we might be able to tie that in with some repairs of those for them. That was what we were thinking anyways. All right, so number 9 was the schedule. Top part is the original schedule that we had for 23. We were actually pretty close. The red dates are the actual, what we actually ended up doing. So well inspection work was planned for June, July. We ended up August, September. Pump house work was scheduled in the summer. We ended up doing that in September. Pump tests, we were hoping August, September. That ended up November. So a little bit behind schedule, but overall we're not in too bad a shape. And then, I think we'll be ready to go same time we were planning to go to bid with the building and storage improvements. So looking ahead to 24, this is what we were thinking, get the RFP for the meter building and the storage out this spring. We might even be earlier than April, but I figured worst case, we'd be looking at like April for that. Do construction of that this summer, get that construction taken care of over the summer. In the meantime, we'll work on the Route 28 final design, so that's all ready to go, and then, late summer, make a call on whether that's going or not. We could get it out to bid, in the fall, which would meet with the ARPA money. I believe it has to be encumbered by the end of 24. So you'd want to have the contracts in place by the end of 24. And then you've got till the end of 26 to spend it. So that's kind of schedule we were looking at.
I have a number of questions.
You may.
All right, when you talk about the pump of water going across Route 28, will be a pump needed there to move it in there?
Oh no, there's plenty of pressure down there.
The second one is radon. Is that tested anywhere along the line?
Yes, sir.
It is tested in the wells. You probably have a waiver, right? So it's only
I think we do it about every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
The
it's
state
not
gives me,
super frequent.
right, the state gives me a certain amount of water testing and what has to be tested every year, and from what well, and which quarter I have to test it. And so that pops up, seems about every 3 to 5 years that comes, I see that one.
It's spaced out.
Now, one of the things that the land group and use of the property subcommittee's looking at, or discussed, I'm not sure where they're going with this, was the potential of putting workforce housing type of thing on the county property. This has gone back and forth, but considering it, any homes put on the property for workers, that type of thing, would the system be able to handle that? Or would you need brand new?
Yeah, that's where you're gonna need extra source capacity. I mean, and we don't know the answer for sure yet, whether you're good with your existing infrastructure, you know, what you have at the county facility. But like I say, I'm guessing with the source capacity you have, the storage you have, I think you're gonna be okay with what you have, you know? Not for any major expansions or anything like that. You need another well, you need
And
another
if that were
source.
to happen, well, you wouldn't know off the top of your head, but what sense would it cost to do the project and have the water paid for, or somebody living there pays for the water? I'm bringing up these devil's advocate questions to the subcommittee, what the cost would be. On the radios that are transmitting the information, can somebody use a transmitter and transmit that to do something different? In other words, I have a little radio here, Will's reading it, and he wants to, but I sit there with my little radio and I start sending it a message. Can that affect everything? Would I have the power, or is this thing only to read?
Are you saying, could someone go in and make changes up at the meter house?
Peter,
in the
a
operation?
regular person goes in, and I have my little transmitter, and I say, oh, I want to mess around with the county
Yeah.
water thing. So I go in there with my little radio, and will I be able to change some setting? Some nasty person does this.
Yeah, no, I see your question. I don't know that much about the radios themselves.
I'll definitely write that
The
question
SCADA
down.
system, but that's definitely something, that we
I
want
write-
them to.
The EJP is going to be here Monday working on training with me. I can definitely write that down.
Yeah, just to see.
Oh, well,
if-
you're talking about the meter, the residential meters.
That's
I
what
think-
he's asking, I
I'm
think.
looking about using the water.
I think he's talking about the SCADA system.
Oh, the
coming
SCADA
down.
system, okay.
Because that is, I'm trying to think how that's transmitting right now. Is it on, how does it call your cell phone?
We have a wireless data that we pay every, wireless
It
connection
is,
up
it
there.
is a wireless right now.
Wireless
Okay.
connection that we pay every year to have it sent down.
So right now it's on cellular.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I'm doing.
okay.
I actually do have a couple questions.
Yep.
So, we're trying to determine if we need a new well, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how long does it take to bring a new well online once they drill it, assuming you hit water?
Once you have water?
Once you hit water, then you drill the well and they hit water. Is it available basically immediately, once you tie it into the system?
No, it's a whole process. I mean, they have to find the water first. I mean,
I
usually,
understand all this, I'm asking the question
Okay.
for everybody that wants to know. In other words, putting up a new well isn't like a two-day job.
no.
It's
The
a long-
permitting process
It's a long
is,
process.
yeah, I mean, there's a whole, usually they go out and do, geologic studies, to find where to drill the wells, fracture analysis, all that sort of thing. They'll do some geophysics, decide where they think are good locations to try the well, try and drill a well. Once they find water, then it's like a two-step permitting process with DES. You have to do what's called a preliminary report, and you basically tell DES how you're proposing, all about it. You have to look at potential contaminant sources around it, other wells in the area, and then you propose how you want to do a pump test to determine
The
the
only reason I
yield of
bring
that
it up
well.
is if, in fact, you determine the capacity is borderline, it's not a 2-second job to do.
No,
To do
and-
resourcing,
and-
so you have to,
And getting that in the ARPA timeframe, that's, yeah, I don't know, that would happen.
okay, well, that's one consideration. The other thing, when you started the presentation, you mentioned that you didn't get quotes from some of the contractors.
On the well work,
Was that
We-
because,
they were busy, they were.
well,
That's what they said.
I assume you put out an RFP, correct?
Yes, yeah, we sent it out to 5 or 6.
Generally,
different
my experience has
contractors.
been when they don't respond, it's because you don't give them enough time. Between the time the bid opens and the time you want the work to begin,
Yeah.
you don't have enough lead time, and they won't quote it. Is that
They,
what you ran into?
no, specifically with the wells, several of them actually got back to us and said, we're not bidding on this, we're booked through the fall, kind of thing.
I guess that's my.
Because we needed licensed well pump installers, right? So kind of a specific niche contractor to do that work.
What ends up happening is you don't get a lot of bids, so you're really at the mercy of 1 or 2 guys who
Right.
hold you up. I guess my point is, when you put out the RFP, are we doing enough lead time where people will quote us? Knowing that they're not waiting for us to quote, they're not waiting for us to put out an RFP. They've got other work to do.
Right.
So how far ahead do you put out?
Ahead of when we want the work done, you mean?
Yes.
I think we left it open. I mean, because it's, to some extent, we were at the mercy of what they could do. I think that was part of the RFP, wasn't it? We had like, what kind of schedule could you do with this?
I think you're right,
Yeah.
I kind of left it
I'm pretty sure in the RFP, we kind of said, we'd like to do this as soon as possible, we needed to do it this summer, but what's your schedule kind of thing? And I was surprised, they actually came back. Both of them that did it were able to turn it around pretty quickly. Because they were small jobs, I mean, the meter building stuff was, the real holdup was getting the equipment. They were waiting on meters, just like you are with those small meters. It was getting the equipment, we went through the shop drawing process, and then we waited on meters for probably a month or more. I mean, when they actually did it, they actually prefabbed a lot of it in the shop before they came up, and they were in and out. They have the system down, like 2 days.
No, not even,
Yeah,
they were
it
in and
was-
out and done in a day. And then they came
You know,
back to
so
do some
it was
painting and
easy
stuff,
enough
but-
to do, the whole process was like 3 months.
So
But.
how many more RFPs would you have to put out at this point?
So we're thinking, we're thinking probably 3. So 1 to install the large meters at the county. Again, that's gonna be a small job, kind of niche contractors that do that kind of work. We're thinking that would be 1. Another one for the meter building and storage tank work up there. That'll be more significant. That'll be a larger contract. And then the third one would be the old Route 28. And that's a big job, so that one we're,
And when would you want the work done?
for which one?
Well, either of them really, storage.
The stuff up at the well house, we're thinking this summer. So we're trying to bid late winter, early spring.
So when
For
would you
work
put
this
out the
summer,
RFP
which
for
is-
that? When would you put out the RFP for that work?
That's what we're thinking, between February and April, somewhere in there.
And you have to wait because.
We just need to finish up the work, so like I say, as soon as we get
Okay.
it done, we'll issue it, but.
And the bigger one? The bigger project?
The Route 28 one,
Right.
that I think that's when you would make a decision whether to go or not on that construction. That would be
Right. with
bid in
based
the
on
fall.
Based on what the town's gonna do with the road? or the state?
Right, I think the first holdup is we just want to get hard numbers from the hydrologist on our capacities.
Okay.
Because we're talking a million, give or take, if we had to put a new well in.
Yeah.
So we would want to use that money because that's a higher priority to put a new well in versus putting new pipes in, if that makes sense. So if we're said, no, we're good on our capacity, then we have that $1 million, if you will, to work on our piping. So I think that's why we need to make the decision. We're kind of waiting on their information, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and so, I
Hard
mean, that's
information.
where I'm thinking, by midsummer, we'll have firm numbers in on the meter building, that'll be underway, we'll know what we're spending there, we'll have the answers on the source, we'll have the design further along, we can have a better number for what the old Route 28 construction's gonna take, and then, make the decision to go or not go.
So I guess
Yeah.
the question is, if anything were to happen to any individual well, how big an impact would that have on the rest of the system in terms of being able to supply capacity?
Currently, right now, the way it seems to be looking is that we have Bedrock 2 is our main well, and these other two, so if this one went out, these two could handle it, or vice versa, if this two went out, this one could handle it. Currently, with what we have. So we kind of got, balancing act there with it, but if we add on, if the county decides to add on anywhere, like the lands committee wants to add on homes, any of those things, then we're probably going to be looking at, definitely, more than likely, we're going to be looking at having to add on additional source, another well to provide for that expansion, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense, it's just a matter of, it takes a long time to bring a well online, as we discussed.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
just my thought.
Right, and it's a lot of money, because that money, if we decide, or we're working with ARPA funds right now, that our wells are good for what we need, and we decide to improve our infrastructure with the line, we're gonna use up our ARPA funds doing that, which we've already, are pretty close to it, which we've already planned. So if they come in with wanting to build 50 homes, or whatever the case is, that money to put in a new source is gonna have to be funded somewhere too, right? We just don't have that money sitting anywhere is what I'm getting at. The projects we're looking at, we have the budget, the 2 million or so that the commissioners gave out of the ARPA funds towards water improvements. Everything we're looking at here was, if everything goes right, we'll be using most of that money up there. And we've also gotten a couple small grants, the asset management grant, and we had a planning grant.
Planning grant is covering that covered the well pump tests and stuff.
Right, so we've gotten little grants along the way, but I guess my point is this money really is already kind of spoken for based on priorities, and if we want to add to the water system for anything else in future use, the chances are, and we'll know for sure once they get back to us, but the chances are it's lining up that we need a new source, and we'll have to find funding for the new source.
I would think that would be wrapped in with whatever project, right? I mean,
I would assume.
that would just become, I would assume that would just become part of that project, that, you're gonna need to expand the water source now, or water system.
And I think what
Part
they're,
of that project.
I would assume from what I've heard, what they're looking for, and hopefully we'll be able to give them that, is they want to know that we can't just, can we or can we not just hook on to what we currently have and add on to the land. I think that's the
I
general.
can tell you right now, no.
And that's what
I mean, we know that much.
Right, I think that's, I also agree with that, and I think that's kind of where you were going, Commissioner Nelson, if they threw on these ideas, could we handle it, could we not? And that's kind of been a lingering question we've had here for a long time, and I think we're gonna have a final say on it, but the rough estimate of what we're seeing, how it went this summer, no. What we have here is sufficient for what we have, but it's not gonna take on a lot more, if that, I'm trying to clear it up a little bit for you, if that made sense at all.
Well, would it be prudent to try and find out what it would cost to do the well at this point?
I think so, and I think you've kind of given a rough estimate on
I
that.
think we've.
And what's that
put a
number?
For that, I don't remember what it is off the top of my head.
To the nearest 5,000, 2,000, 3,000, no idea.
2003,
Well,
we're
5,000,
talking.
Well, I know, but.
We're usually talking millions,
Well,
so I mean,
okay, so-
I mean, it's
It's a
not-
wider brand,
it's
but
not
I remember the number somewhere
insignificant.
between 500 to 1.5,
I was
somewhere
gonna
in
say,
that
if I had to throw out a number, I'd probably grab
range.
$750,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say somewhere in that range.
The permitting that's involved is quite extensive, and the testing and stuff.
I think that's something we should look at some point, even though, I just, I mean, what you don't want to do is have to get in a situation where you have to scramble around if something
Right.
happens. I mean, I guess you don't have to do it today, but knowing it takes a long time to bring something online,
Right.
maybe.
The time just to do it, yeah.
It's long, no, if you decide you want it well today, you're a long ways away from having it up and running. Long, so.
And if you had some time to look at that, could you give us an idea of, we're looking at, possibly 26 months, or we're looking at 12 months?
Time
or
frame from it,
the
yeah.
timeframe, so if
I
they-
can get that from the hydrogeologist. They could rattle it off the top
Okay.
of their head. I can't.
'Cause I think that would help, that's kind of what you're looking for.
That was just like, yeah.
Right. That'll
I
help
did,
them.
Commissioners, I did ask Will, based on this flow chart, the ARCA money's gonna cover everything that he wants here, barring any unforeseen circumstances, so we're okay there.
Should get pretty close, yeah. And so on this, I shaded and I trimmed the text blue on the things we've done, so you can see on the left, the shaded boxes are things that have been complete. Still some stuff we haven't completed, but that just kind of gives you kind of a status of where things are at for the different pieces.
Another big important thing of this upgrade, I feel, for what we do is having the ability to read and monitor everything that's going on up there, because the state is also looking to have more records, when they come for their inspections, of wanting to see things more on a, couple, like right now, we go up a couple times a week to read them by hand, and we'll eventually have to be able to have this all on a computer system, so I can make a couple clicks and record it, and be able to have the information for when the inspectors come. And so I think that's an important part, to be able to, not only for us to monitor it, but also to have the information for when the inspectors come, that it's easily available. And that we're, we're doing what they need and what's required.
Okay,
Thank you. Anything else? And we still have a good portion of the money left for the projects that, yeah.
Request from Fred.
Yeah. Oh,
Madam Chair, may I ask a couple of questions?
you may
How many
ask.
residents do we have on the county water system?
Will?
I don't know the exact number, but I think it's 47, 48, something like that. I might be off one or two, but right in that, just shy of 50
Just shy of 50, so that
homes that are down in the village.
down in the village, and you mentioned new people coming on. I've driven through the village, I don't think there's too many new properties down there coming in. How many new people have we tapped into the water here?
I think since I've been here, there's only been two,
I was gonna
maybe
say
two
probably
or three.
two or three in my time, and most of them aren't necessarily new homes. They're just homes that there was a service put there, but they never hooked onto the system when the system was
Okay,
put down.
so they have their own private wells.
Correct.
So is that something that if they were to do 50, workforce homes, that the county could notify these residents saying they're not going to supply any more water to them, they'd have to get their own? I know that there's a lot of seasonal water in the town of Wolfboro, that they're notifying residents they're going to abandon the seasonal lines now for these people, and that they'd have to put in their own wells.
I don't think that's a question I could answer for you, sir. I think that's above my pay grade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're looking to expand here in the county, maybe if we have under 50 residents, you give them a few years to make other arrangements. Maybe that's something that, we could look into, and then we wouldn't have the expense of servicing those lines down the road and all. We just do our own complex here. Thank you very much.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Nope.
Well, thank you very much.
you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I was asking
Thank you.
Right. Right. I don't think so, but that would also.
Yeah, well, no, I will,
Ask Bobby, our network more, compared to our network. So that might be a question for her, and then if not her, then the gentleman that runs that system for us. They're a company that provides
putting out in this property. I just wanted to make sure it covered everything this afternoon. This is an expense for the water. I think
added to that plan.
You were at this meeting of places available in different towns. Yeah, I would prefer.
Underwood just needs to clarify.
Yeah, I can go anywhere I'm saying.
Ed, is that still,
Yes.
sound on?
Yes.
In my mind, dollar signs are going click, 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 click. I don't know how much everything costs.
Well, the problem is the water system is really critical.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's no question.
And I'm a what-if kind of guy. And if you're at capacity and something goes wrong,
Rock Creek, yeah.
it's a problem.
Yeah, definitely need an extra, something rare to go. That's why, one of the reasons I asked the radon question, should somebody flag radon and then,
No, I get all that stuff, I mean, from the state, pass it on to Will.
Is the meeting still ongoing?
Yes.
Light on set?
Okay, gentlemen, we are going into, we need another what? A
Non-public,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to go to non-public.
second that.
Under RSA 91-A:32C.
All right, and now.
Now you
second
can,
it.
yes,
Okay,
roll call.
all those in favor, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner McGee,
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson? Yes, I gotta think. Commissioner McCarthy?
Yes.
11:12. Was Nelson the second?
Yes.
Thank you.
Then that's why I stopped her and asked her, because you guys didn't have any idea that we did all this.
Meaningful.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
All we really want to know is, are we gonna have enough water to keep everybody going?
yeah, that's why we did it, because we were getting too many, anyway.
It's 11:45.
11:45, okay. So,
Oh, a motion to file non-public and seal the minutes.
I can second that.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we have nothing else, right, any further business?
That I know of.
Then I will, I don't know if we're having a meeting next week or not. We'll go into recess.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question before you do that?
Oh, okay, quick one.
I'm just wondering, I'm just wondering if maybe, sorry, Dallas Emery, if years ago, or a few years back, before you guys changed the rules on public comment, if there was any way we could go back to having public comment at the end of the meeting also? Because a lot of times, for me in particular, I'll hear something during the whole meeting that I would like to make a comment on, and of course, there's no public comment at the end of the meetings.
So we were discussing themselves and either changing it until the end of the meeting.
Oh, instead of the
Only having,
beginning.
yep, instead of at the beginning.
Okay, that actually.
I mean, that gives you-
That helps me. I don't know about other people, but I understand it.
No, that helps me too, because I have to run around and chase after hay, since I can't buy any in the parking lot, so I'm sometimes tardy.
Okay, that was, so that was my question, I guess.
So we will
Your
discuss
thinking
that
about it
and,
is the
yeah.
answer?
I personally think 2 would be good because you can get it a little
I
at the
agree,
beginning. There's not that many people here that have wanted to speak, and I personally think it should be 2 like it used to be. 1 in the beginning, 1 at the end.
that.
The only problem I see with that is we never know when it's gonna end.
Right.
So somebody, if you come at 9, you know you're gonna be on at 9, you know you're gonna be able to say something. Otherwise, the meeting could end up at 10:30 or 12:30, and you're sitting around 5. How do you take care of that? So somebody doesn't say it's a waste of my time.
Well, I don't think the public is going to be talking that long. They're limited to...
No, but I mean to come. Would everybody want to come back, not knowing what time our meeting was gonna end?
Right.
To make their talk?
Well, sometimes your meetings were late, and that was one of the reasons they had them at the beginning, because they used to go to recess, go to lunch, and then they'd do the meeting at 2 o'clock, so that made it very uneasy for people, the public, to speak. And that's when we started a petition to put it back on the beginning, and if you take it off the beginning again, we'll just restart that petition for beginning and end. I honestly don't think that a few minutes in the beginning and a few minutes in the end of the meeting is too much to ask from our commissioners.
I agree with you, Fred. What is so frightening about public comment?
I'm not talking about the comments, I'm thinking of people who want to come in and that, no, I'm not talking about the comments whatsoever. It's just, I'm trying to save people time. That's
Well, I'm just gonna go back, and that's the way it was before, up until a couple of years ago, it was always that way.
Well, the selectmen meeting were always public comments at the beginning and at the end.
Okay. Hey, sorry I started a problem, I thought I was helping everybody, but I'm the bad guy. Sorry about that.
We have to ask
We
the
will,
question.
we'll discuss it and we will come up with something. We may leave it alone but I don't remember there ever being I don't remember a petition of any kind.
There was.
When we were in the old building, we
Oh,
got,
the old, well, that was before me
There
then.
was a petition when...
That was before me then.
No, that was during you. I had a petition to put it back on the beginning
That's right.
and had well over 200 signatures. It was in the local paper.
That's right.
And when,
Really?
yes.
That's actually true.
Where I was.
Yeah, no, you were there.
You were there.
And Matt Plash and Commissioner Cesari.
Oh, I know, we had, yeah, they
Yeah,
had it.
and I had a petition that
I
would
didn't see
be
the
put on the
petition.
beginning. And I will do it again if we go back to the old way.
You do realize that legally, we don't have to have any public comments.
Correct,
We do it
as a courtesy.
as a courtesy. So we don't have to have it at all.
Well, I think you may not have to have it at all, but I think it's best if you let the public speak.
We do.
Versus go out to social media and to the papers and all.
That's why
I
we
think
do
it's
it.
best to hear it here. Thank you very much.
Well, that's gonna happen anyway.
So,
are we in recess?
yes, we are now in recess until call of the chair.
Thank you.
A little bit.
All set with these?
I believe so.